We're behind. They're all fired up. What we got to do? First place, our defense has got to go out there and take the ball. Then when we get the ball, we got to have 11 people that's going to do their job and try to score every time you get the football. If we do that, we'll be all right. Do that, we'll be all right.
Happy Monday, everybody. We are back for another episode of Football University with me, Matt Cadell. I know it's been a while, but please continue to tune in. I'm so glad to be back with the student section, with you all, the fans. We've got it rocking and rolling. RTR, listen, this is what we do. We're going to cover a lot of topics. We talk anything and everything football. We're going to discuss Super Bowl. We're going to discuss Kalen DeBoer's coaching staff, NFL draft, players, spring training, quarterbacks. We do it all. We talk anything and everything football. We find a way to bring it back to the none other than the greatest university, University of Alabama, Crimson Tide. So, we're here on the CTS-Sports room. I'm just glad to be back. So we're just going to talk Alabama football. We're on the CTS-Sports room. Hit that like, subscribe button. But most importantly, get in the student section. I miss you all. I haven't seen y'all in forever, so let's get it cranking. Shouts out to Stephen Hicks. He says, roll, Tide, roll. Bama Nation. Yes, we're going to discuss Bama Nation. We got a lot of updates. A lot has happened in the past 3 or 4 weeks. I think the last show, I did was regarding, Coach Saban, all that good stuff. So we're going to discuss all of that here soon. Shouts out to Stephen Hicks and B Jammin'. The one and only. So, guys, let's get it started. So I want to let's talk about Alabama Roll Tide Nation. Now, let's start with Kalen DeBoer's staff. I think Kalen DeBoer was able to, hit the ground running. I'm just going to give him his kudos, his props. Just like Stephen Hicks says, I love this line. And we kind of coined it from Malachi Moore saying, listen, the bottom line for all Bama family needs to be, if you're not wearing crimson, you don't matter. Or it's some other words that comes to mind with that term. So at the end of the day, Kalen DeBoer, he is our head coach, and he's got majority of his staff sold up. I got to give the man credit for what he was able to do within 3 to 4 weeks or so, with the interviewing coaches, retaining a staff, putting together a staff, managing the transfer portal, bringing in talent, losing talent, trying to keep the team together, trying to establish your program. I'm quite sure it was a lot. And the way he kind of weathered that storm, in my opinion, just shows what type of coach. I believe we got the right guy regarding the coach for the future, Alabama in the future, in Kalen DeBoer. We're going to discuss some of the staff changes that happened this past weekend, with the loss of Grubb and Huff, how that impact might happen to the Crimson Tide. But at the end of the day, it's all about Crimson. So let's highlight the things that Kalen DeBoer was able to do. He was able to look at his staff. He was able to keep Freddie Roach. He was able to keep Robert Gillespie. He was able to bring in Jamarcus Shepard. We thought he was bringing in, well, he had Grubb, Huff, the offensive line coach. You brought in some talent. Austin Mack, the 6'6" quarterback out of Washington, who is a stud, I've heard, and he was able to keep majority of his team within that window. So, and I think the most important recruiting thing, we were able to add talent. You know, we lost Grimsley, we lost Julian Sand, but we were able to still bring in the most important piece, which is Ryan Williams, and keep those guys. Quentin Reese, the linebacker out of Birmingham, who was very talented. And we added Noah Carter. So I thought he did a tremendous job of maintaining, wearing multiple hats, having to deal with so many different types of business parts of Alabama football. You know, he had to manage it. The way he handled it shows me that he kind of has a little bit of saving in him, and being able to delegate and get your recruiting staff situated, be able to host official visits for signees, all these guys that he hasn't met, and retain these guys. And like I said, signing Ryan Williams, Hollywood Williams, probably one of the top prospects to ever come through the University of Alabama. I mean, that speaks a lot. So, I mean, I got to give the guy his credit. So I know a lot of people want to discuss the staff, so we're going to get to that real quickly. So let's get to the student section, because I got to shout out the student section. Shouts out to the Chartman. Am I saying that correctly? Shouts out to the Chapman family. Roll Tide Roll, RTR to the Chapman family. We shouted out B Jam and Stephen Hicks. Stephen Hicks said, I cleaned it up for the show, but we all know if they ain't wearing crimson, blankety blank. We'll leave it at that. Shouts out to Jeff Stapleton. Man, I miss you guys. I'm so glad to interact with you guys. I know it's been a while, but everything happens for a reason. It's glad to get back and speak with the Bama Nation. I know we got some Niners fans in the house. We all know what happened. Two key things was the reason Niners lost: muff punt, kick, and Moody missed the extra points. So yeah, I mean, let's talk about it. Super Bowl, Las Vegas, which was kind of weird. Patrick Mahomes going for his third ring. Andy Reid, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, Kyle Shanahan, which is Mike Shanahan's son, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, Kittle, Debo Samuels. Just my initial thought, I thought San Francisco had the game, but in most big games, it comes down to turnovers and special teams, and that's what Jeff Stapleton is mentioning right now. The muff punt by number 3 really kind of hurt them. That turnover and that block extra point by Moody, that really helped them, because if they would have got that point, it's a 4-point game, so you have to score twice. You kind of have to force the hand on Kansas City just for them to score a touchdown, but that didn't happen. And listen, the Chiefs, you can't give the ball. It was some you got to score touchdowns. And I think that's what's important when you look at teams like like Alabama. You know, you got to put teams down. When you have momentum, you got to be able to go ahead and put the nail in the coffin. You can't just be up by 3 or 10 points. You have to be able to make it a 2 to 3 possession game, mainly touchdowns. You got to be able to keep all the momentum, because I thought San Francisco defense was playing enough. I thought Brock Purdy played a good enough game. Him and Juwan Jennings had a lot of cohesiveness. Even though the Niners had some injury concern, they lost Greenlaw on a freak accident. Kittle got hurt. But listen, champions never underestimate the heart of a champion. We know that as Alabama fans, is all the adversity we've dealt with, from, having to pull Jalen Hurts in the national championship game and bring in Tua. You never underestimate the heart of a champion. Tua wins the national championship. The following year, Tua gets hurt in the SEC championship, and we had to bring in Jalen. Never underestimate the heart of a champion. We found a way to win the SEC championship. So let's get to, Mahomes, man. I mean, he made the plays. I think he went 8 for 8 that last drive, converted a lot of key third downs, fourth down. And we're going to talk about play calling. And I'm looking at Andy Reid, the creative flow, what he likes to do offensively, even Kyle Shanahan. And that's something I think us as Alabama fans, we were looking forward to having Grubb come down from Washington to be the offensive coordinator. But just piggyback back to Mahomes, I mean, he had a great play call. Andy Reid, the way they lock and load with Kelsey and make the plays, I never underestimated a champion. So Mahomes got his 3rd ring, and he's only 28. So I think the magic number to me, he's already in the GOAT conversation, but in order for him to be GOAT status, which leads me to my next point by B-Jam. At what point will Mahomes get the GOAT status? I don't personally think he is there yet, but he stays healthy. It might be here soon. I think he's in the conversation. There's only 3 quarterbacks there. It's Tom Brady, it's Montana, and it's Mahomes. I think he kind of surpassed Troy Aikman. The reason I'm putting Mahomes already in that category, he lost 1 Super Bowl. Well, he lost probably 2 Super Bowl opportunities to Tom Brady. He lost to them in New England, I think his rookie or sophomore year, with the Chiefs in the AFC Championship Game in Arrowhead. I think Gronk and them, that was the year they won the Super Bowl. I think they beat the LA Rams that year. So that could have been a Super Bowl right there, but he lost that one. Then he lost to Brady again in Tampa Bay in the Buccaneers in that Super Bowl a couple of years back. So, me personally, I already put him in the category because I look at it this year. They traded away Tyreek Hill. I know we got a lot of Dolphins fans, Tua fans. They traded away Tyreek Hill 2 years ago, and they've gotten 2 Super Bowls. And they haven't had, just imagine what they would have had, and they haven't had the talent that they needed at the receiver position. A lot of times it's just been Kelsey. Pacheco's really good. But listen, he hasn't had that dynamic. He had a lot of drops this past year from his receivers, and it was looking like they weren't going to make it into the playoffs. They snuck in the 6th seed, beat Miami the first round, and then went on the road to beat Buffalo and to beat Lamar Jackson, MVP Jackson, and the Baltimore Ravens to meet and win the Super Bowl. To me, that show with not as much talent, that to me shows how great Mahomes is in clutch situations. So let's get to the student section. There's some comments that I want to get to, but thanks for that comment, B Jammin. Let's see. Let's go back to Stephen Hicks. He has a great comment. So let's pivot back to Alabama. Speaking of, I'm talking about Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, and I mentioned how I think that was one thing we were kind of looking forward to regarding Alabama's offense. I think we've been kind of, with all the talent, all the weapons, we have Kendrick Law, Hollywood Williams, Justice Haynes, Richard Young, Jam Miller, Caleb Odom, Kobe Prince. We have so much talent We just need an offense that's effective and creative to really be dominant on the offensive end. I think all Alabama fans, we were very excited. We got Jamarcus Shepard, who I really high on, but I think at the end of the day, it is Kalen DeBoer's offense. But, I think most Bama fans were looking forward to having Ryan Grubb be at the helm with his, creativity to Kalen DeBoer style offense and, kind of put in there, looking at Alabama's personnel. I mean, I was just already imagining what they were doing at Washington, but doing with the talent that we have in Tuscaloosa. It's like going from, no disrespect to Washington, but I think Washington is, as far as talent now, Romeo Duzier, he has some top linemen, but I'm saying overall depth and talent, I think it's a major upgrade coming to Alabama. I think it's like going from, a really good, what's a good car? Like a Camaro or a Corvette. No, let's say a Corvette. Going from a Corvette to a Lambo or Ferrari. That's the type of weapons we have offensively. And I was only imagining what we were going to do with an offensive coordinator that was creative, but kind of to make it relative to the Super Bowl. You look at Kyle Shanahan, you look at Andy Reid, the creativity that they like to utilize, offense, a lot of motions, a lot of creative plays, reverses, screens, just utilizing talent. I think that's what Alabama was looking forward to with Ryan Grubb. And at the end of the day, it's Kalen DeBoer's offense. So I think Kalen DeBoer is going to bring in an OC. I'm hearing rumblings, does he, co-OC with Jamarcus Shepard and co-OC with Jamarcus Shepard and some Nick Sheridan. But I think he might bring in an OC. I'm quite sure behind the scenes he's doing a lot of negotiating and making the right calls. I think he knows what people fail to realize, just like Saban, but I think right now he knows what he's looking for in certain coaches, in certain positions, especially the offensive coordinator. I think he knows some guys that even coached for him. I know people are mentioning Kirby Moore. I think they were like roommates together, maybe at Fresno State or something like that when they were GAs or something, or coordinators or whatnot. So I think he's going to make a right hire. I think he's making sure he's reaching out to the right contacts, making sure that he feels it's going to be a great fit for him and his staff. So I wouldn't be surprised he brings in the OC. Wouldn't be surprised he makes, Jamarcus Shepard pass game coordinator, co-OC, something like that. I mean, this is just me, just pure speculation. I do not have any inside information. I'm just going off what I'm hearing. So I think we would get, I don't know how soon the offensive line, the OC hire will be, but I think you might maybe see the offensive line hire come first, then the OC hire come second. But I think he has a lot of connections, whether it's maybe at the D2 level, to D3 level, that I think that a lot of these coaches, just like himself, are looking for opportunities to develop. I think he's looking for guys that can develop and have a unique style system. Look, he obviously hasn't missed as a coaching staff. Look, his offensive coordinator and offensive line coach are with the Seattle Seahawks. That should tell you what type of coach, what type of evaluator of coaching personnel Kalen DeBoer is, and what I think he knows, being a former player, being in the coaching ranks, going from D2, D3, up the ranks to D1 and being successful at every stop. He knows what he's looking for in the coach. So I think he's having those conversations with some coaches right now, and I trust Kalen DeBoer to bring in the right hire now. Soon, I think, spring, 8A, spring ball is about a couple weeks away. So I wouldn't be surprised you hear some names, some rumblings start happening. You guys probably know more than me, but I think he's going to make the right hire. I think he's going to have a lot of familiarity, a lot of continuity with his staff. So I think that's what, what he had at, whether it's Indiana or whether it's at Washington, wherever, he knows how to find. He has an eye for talent and personnel when it comes to coaching. So I don't know how soon, but I think it's going to be a great hire. And so hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Hicks. Shouts out to Icebox. He says, Roll Tide, Steven, Roll Tide. Icebox, we mentioned Mahomes. Icebox has a great question. He says, hey, Matt, should we hire an OC and an O-line coach at the same time or separate? I don't know how that's going to work. I have heard it's a few coaching candidates out there. I think my brother, I was talking to one of my good friends, Lushan. He was telling me, I think Florida State's offensive coordinator is the O-line coach. I believe it's a coach out in Hawaii who's the OC O-line. So you never know. You maybe bring that coach in. He could be co-OC with, Sheridan or however. But, I mean, there's the possibility that we could bring in an OC O-line coach. But, I think I don't know. It depends on what Kalen DeBoer sees. At the end of the day, we're going to need somebody. I think the offensive line hiring the offensive coordinator, I mean, they're very important. So, I mean, OC probably could do both. But there are a few candidates, and maybe that's something Kalen DeBoer is looking forward to, maybe bringing an OC O-line coach and let, Shepard be kind of the co-OC as well, the pass game coordinator or something like that. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to work out for Alabama. Let me know y'all names. What are y'all hearing regarding the OC, the O-line coach? But I do think we're going to get somebody good. I think one thing a lot of Bama fans got to get used to is not going to the typical big name guys or the big name guys who has either Alabama ties or Coach Saban ties, something like that. I don't know what he's doing now, but Willie Vlahos, he used to coach Alabama. I think he's got a lot of NFL experience. I don't know. I think he might still be with the Bills or the Patriots. It's a lot of different things we could do to possibly get this thing rolling. So, like I said, I trust Kalen DeBoer. But great question, Mr. Icebox. Let's scroll down. Let's see what else we have in the student section. Stephen Hicks. Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take to announce the OC, but I wouldn't be surprised. It might be this week. It might be another week from now, especially getting close to offensive install, spring training, 8 days coming up soon. So I'm quite sure he has his coach and staff. And listen, this guy, I know a lot of people might not be familiar with these names and personnel hires and recruiting and defensive hires, but I think Kalen DeBoer is looking for a specific type when it comes to his fit in his staff, what he's looking like. And Chris Stewart had a great comment. Listen, when Coach Saban came to LSU from Michigan State, he took on the LSU job, and he actually sent a plane back up to East Lansing to see which coaches wanted to come and help, come to LSU and help them. And none of those coaches came. They elected to stay with Bobby Williams. So, I think it works out good for us because, listen, a lot of teams in the SEC, they probably were like, man, they were already looking at Washington film to try to game plan Alabama. So I think that's an advantage that we have with a new offensive coordinator, new O-line coach. I think from what I've seen, Kalen DeBoer has already had his imprint on the offensive line. I think I've heard guys starting to get more toned up, more slim, trimmed, that way they can be, still have that power and be physical. I felt like last year under Coach Wolf, I mean, Coach Wolf does not get enough flack, in my opinion, for the level of development, the lack thereof, development offensive linemen. I mean, we gave up 49 sacks. I mean, we had low snaps. Oh, let me stop right there. What about watching that Super Bowl game and seeing Patrick Mahomes get low snaps. It was not every Alabama fan having almost triggered or almost having a little slight PTSD, like, oh, what is going on? Just bringing back bad memories of those low snaps in the Rose Bowl and previous game throughout this year. But like I was saying, like I don't think Wolf gets enough flack from how poorly our offensive line developed. We gave up way too many sacks. We couldn't protect anything. We couldn't block anything, but with that, we were able to still go to the college football playoff. That's what I'm saying. A lot of this is going to, I think, is going to work out for Alabama. I think we get the offensive line higher, squared away. I think Kalen DeBoer is looking for what he kind of is looking for, a great fit, a great developer of talent. And I'm quite sure he's going to have a name that nobody knows, is going to be off the radar, but Kalen DeBoer knows how to get them. He knows what drills to run. I mean, he had Coach Huff. He knows Coach Huff. He knows what a good offensive lineman is. And so I think he's going to bring in somebody good, especially offensive coordinator that kind of fits his system. So I'm excited. So Bama fans, listen, it's going to work out for us. Trust me, it's going to work out for us. We're going to get back to this Mahomes. Stephen Hicks. Stephen Hicks is on. He says, do you think Riggs has a shot or Golach? Now, I have heard this Curtis Riggs name pop up. I think he's one of the coaches that was with him with Sioux Falls. He was more of like I don't know if he was a GM or over football operations, but I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe he brings him on board in some type of role. Now, I don't know if he's going to be offensive coordinator, but I have heard about Golach. I think he's a unique name. I heard Texas, another name that I've heard that is really I think would be a really good hire. I think it's Texas State's head coach. I heard nothing but rave reviews. I think Texas A&M interviewed him maybe for the I think they might have brought him in for the Texas A&M interview for the job opening. It's another coach, UNLV's, I believe, new offensive coordinator. I believe that's what it is. I think he has a lot of another name. So it's some names out there that I think is going to be a great fit for us. And I think Kalen DeBoer is looking for specifically what he wants in a fit scheme that can really take Alabama to the next level. I just think Alabama fans, we got to stop looking at things through Saban's eyes. I get caught into it. I'm like, oh, this big name coach is here, there, everywhere. He's got SEC experience. No, I don't think that's what Kalen DeBoer is looking for. I think he's looking for guys that kind of fit his scheme that he would have long-term success with here at Alabama. But great comment right there, Stephen Hicks. Yeah, just Stapleton. That's exactly what I said. We still got time to find an OC who's never really here at Bama. You can't miss something he never had. He never called a play. Only thing we got him to do, like, he never changed his profile picture. So word on the street that I heard that this has kind of been in the works for a while regarding Grubb. Now, I think the Huff news probably came maybe not as a surprise to Kalen DeBoer. He probably started getting word about it maybe last week is my guess. But I don't think the Grubb stuff was caught in surprise because, listen, from what I'm hearing, I don't think Grubb was already, he left Washington. I think from what Greg Burns said in the preview before the Alabama LSU basketball this past Saturday, he said, yes, Kalen DeBoer knew about this. We knew about this because it was a possibility that Grubb was going to be the Washington head coach, and Washington went in another direction. They hired Arizona's coach. So there was that possibility. So I'm quite sure Kalen DeBoer was already looking at, contingency plans, plan Bs, regardless when it came to Ryan Grubb. And, smoke regarding Seattle Seahawks. They were interviewing guys, and I never heard an official interview for Ryan Grubb. So maybe Mike McDonald, the new head coach, who's the former Baltimore Ravens head coach. He's a young guy. I believe he's 36. Maybe he's trying to do what Harbaugh did at Baltimore with Todd Monken, having a college guy. But on the offensive end. But, listen, it is what it is. I guess he saw quality fit in Ryan Grubb. Kudos to him and Coach Huff. But like you said, Jeff Saberton, we didn't miss him. Now teams are going to – you can't really game plan that Washington tape. Now, Alabama could use it for, pieces here and there. And because at the end of the day, it's still DeBoer's system scheme. And I think he's going to find the right guy or guys to really put their unique sauce and take it to the next level on this offense and develop the talent that we have, because we still got to develop our quarterback. We got to have we got to have somebody who can develop quarterbacks and install an offense and call plays and get us to be creative minded. So I think it's specific traits that Kalen DeBoer is actually looking for. And I think it's going to be a great hire for us. It might not be that wow factor name or, maybe an Andy Reid or a Lane Kiffin or something like that. But I think it's going to be something specifically traits that he's looking for regarding offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. So Stephen Hicks says exactly. Listen, a lot of talk about Mahomes. Let's go back to this Mahomes talk. Y'all are just rocking and rolling. Let's go back to Jeff Stapleton. We know he's a Niners fan. He says, if Moody didn't miss extra point, we would win it 20-19. Chiefs in the regular time on the score 1 TD out of 4 trips in the end zone. I mean, I get it. I feel like the defense for the Niners played actually a really good game. But like I said earlier, when you have teams, you have to bury them. You have to put the nail in the coffin. You got to put the dirt on them. Like, you got to continue to build and build and build and build and build. And the 49ers really didn't separate it. Kudos to the Chiefs. I mean, I think my underrated coach in the whole Chiefs dynasty, whatever, Steve Spagnuolo, I don't care what nobody say, his defensive game planning, how to be, like, he stopped, like, easily 4 of the top offenses in this playoff run. You look at the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniels, Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They stopped them. They stopped Buffalo Bills. Golly, what's the name? The offensive coordinator, Josh Allen. Brody, the offensive coordinator, they used to be at LSU. I mean, they stopped that offense. And then after that, they beat MVP Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. And, like, they did this on the road. So Steve Spagnuolo, he knows how to call a defense. We're going to get an NFL draft with Alabama players. You might see maybe a Kool-Aid McKinstry get it added to that. You maybe see a Kool-Aid get added to the San Francisco 49ers. They could have used that help. So, listen, I like Steve Spagnuolo, his defensive play calling, his scheme, his being able to adjust it and know when to call the right blitz. On these creative defense, he held Kyle Shanahan to maybe – 22 points? They lost 22. That was going in overtime, like 19 points. But at the same time, kudos to Steve Wilkes. I feel like he was in his bag defensively because he held the 49ers. The Chiefs too, just only a touchdown, late into overtime. But listen, Steve Spagnuolo, he knows what he's going to do. But like I said, you got to be able to bury teams. So let's get back. We have some more Mahomes talk. Jeff Saberton says, yeah, you can't open the field up for Mahomes like that. He's a runner, but what makes him so effective, and I think that's going to bring me to my next topic, what Alabama has to have at the quarterback position. And I know we love Milroe, and if you're a fan of Football University, always say things Milroe has to improve on. He's got to be able to be a good pocket game manager. Just manage the game. Like, you look at Patrick Mahomes, he was Patrick Mahomes throughout the game, but more during the game, he was more of a game manager because San Francisco defense, they were so lethal. They were rushing for it was times he wanted to throw the ball deep, but it was like triple coverage. So he had to manage and maybe throw it out of bounds, throw it away, don't take a sack. He still had to keep the team in the game. And I think when it came to it, we gotta be able to have a quarterback who's gonna be able to beat man, beat zone, beat all these exotic blitzes, manage the game, manage the offense, distribute the ball, facilitate. So I think these are all things Jalen Milroe has to continue to improve on. Now, he's made plenty of strides from week 1 all the way to the end of the season, but I still think he needs to continue to take even more strides, because if his goal is the NFL, that's what NFL quarterbacking look like, and you need to be working on those things: accuracy, being more cerebral, being able to see the play kind of happen before it happens. So he's got to be able to kind of have that mindset, and I feel like whichever quarterback does that, if it's Miro, if it's whoever, that's what's going to be needed for Alabama to get back to the national championship. Because I feel like quarterbacks that are winning natties and winning Super Bowls, they're the ones who are able to make those decisions and be effective, spread the ball, not turn the ball over, know when to make the right play, get the defense in the front, like doing it all on their own. Like, they don't have to look to the sideline. They don't have to look to the sideline of what reads and things like that. So these are things I think Milroe has to continue to develop and work on. Even more so now we don't have Ryan Grubb. Grubb's going to Seahawks, so he needs to really continue to develop, because, listen, this quarterback room got a lot better. He's got some hungry dogs behind him. He has Ty Simpson. He has Dylan Lonergan, who I've heard about, who's putting in the work. He's got Austin Mack. Like, that's another problem to deal with. This guy came from Washington. This guy is a really, really good talent. I heard if anything would have went down or happened bad to Michael Penix, he was going to be the guy to step up. So, listen, I just need Milroe to put in the work ethic, knowing that nothing's going to be given to you. Tommy Reese is not there. Coach Saban's not there. Yeah, you might get a first shot at it, but if you want to take that next step and you want to be in the NFL, you want to prove Bill O'Brien wrong, you want to let all naysayers know, you need to get in the lab and work on your craft as a quarterback, the QB mechanics, pocket awareness, footwork, eye discipline, accuracy, ball placement, reading zones, throwing people open. It's so many little things that he needs to be working on, because that's what's going to help take this offense to the next level, even more so bringing in an new offensive coordinator, new scheme. But it's going to be DeBoer's system. Like I said, Kalen DeBoer puts a lot on his quarterbacks. You look at Mahomes, you look at these guys, they know when to make the right football play. I'm talking about IQ play, like Jeff Saban said, you can't leave the middle wide open in overtime. Mahomes took advantage of that, so he took advantage of it when he needed to make a pass play. They 4th and 1, they didn't just hand it off. They had multiple options on plays, whether it's a run pass option, he could run on that big time 4th and 1. It's a lot that they put on the quarterback, and in order to be an elite quarterback, because only elite quarterbacks are winning the championships, in my opinion, you have to be able to do all those things. So, Miro, if you're out there, work on those things. Be a student of the game. Work on your craft, because that's what's going to take Alabama to the next level and win that national championship. So, B. Jamin says, yeah, I was one of the 49ers to win. Man, y'all are ripping and rolling. Joe Saban says, yeah, you can't let 100 teams back in the game, momentum back. Like I said, you got to bury these teams. You got to put up at least 2 touchdowns easily. if not 2 touchdowns, got to be a 3-possession game. We have at least 2 possession game. Is you want to present a win, especially the way their defense was playing. 10-point lead was huge. Even a 13-point lead would have been huge, that gives you 2 possessions and another one where they have to at least get 3 points, so it's it is what it is. Just 10 points. We learned that in the Rose Bowl game versus Michigan, that 10-point lead was not good enough. Michigan still found a way to come back and tie the game up and go in overtime. And, we lost in overtime. So you got to be able to put teams away when you have them. Alabama, I think what hurt Bama was Milroe, that drive he fumbled. I thought that kind of we were really going to take the momentum. We were going to go up at least 3 or maybe, 17 points, whatever. I think that kind of would have put the game out of reach. But like I said, turnovers and special teams, that's kind of what gets you in these big-time games. And like I said, you got to be able to execute in all phases of the game. So it was proven again in big-time games in the Super Bowl. So B. Jamin says, Brock Purdy played a good game. 49ers defense was on fire the first half. Like, I thought they played a good enough game to win. It's just that you can't give Mahomes that. You can't give Mahomes 8 minutes. It's like going against Brady or those guys or Joe Montana. They're going to find ways to win. They're so calm, cool, and collected and have so much poise. That's what you need in a quarterback. You need a quarterback with ice in the veins. Oh, yeah, we're down 10. Oh, no worries. We're going to galvanize these guys. We're going to run. You got to have poise. You might get hit a few times or you're down. We don't need scary eyes or anything like that. Your best quarterbacks are the ones that are locked in. They have that killer instinct. They're poised. They're collected. They're just out there, cerebral. They're ready to go out there and execute. And that's what we're going to need. So, but yeah, I thought Purdy played a good enough game. I thought Kyle Shanahan actually called a really good game offensively. It's just he just went up against that juggernaut, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, clutch QBs. It's all about clutch QB play, man. I mean, listen, you gotta make plays. I'm saying Brock Purdy made some plays. He made some key third downs, and I think they don't go unnoticed. I think he played it good enough to win the game. If that was 31 any other teams outside of playing the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, they probably win that Super Bowl. But because it was Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, that's probably the reason that they lost in overtime. But yeah, clutch QBs make plays, and in tough times, you got to make plays. Milroe did that versus Auburn, 4th and 31. So it's going to be, he's got it in him. We just want to continue to develop and build off that. Stephen Hicks says, where is this? He says, Purdy played good. They just ran into Patrick. Yeah, Sir Patrick, that is Mahomes. That is his name. Just Stapleton said, yeah, it was a back and forth game. 3 goals, that muff punt happening. Yeah, that was pretty crucial. I don't know why the punter just didn't do a Peter call, or if anything, I saw it muff. I think his name's McCord. Instead of trying to scoop it, he just should have fell on the ball, just jumped on it and secured the possession. In that situation, I'm quite sure if he looked back at it, he wished he would have just jumped on it. But, shoulda, coulda, woulda. That's what my high school coach used to always say. Great comment right here. James Knox, shout out to James Knox. He said, Roll Tide fan, thoughts on 49ers not knowing OT rules. Now, I did kind of hear this, excuse me, that, maybe the 49ers didn't know the OT rules. And I heard a few of the Kansas City Chiefs players didn't know the overtime rules. Because everybody changed the overtime rules duly because of the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen and Buffalo still lost to Kansas City Chiefs and Mahomes. And Mahomes still won another Super Bowl. So, it is what it is. Now, I did hear this to answer your question, James Knox. Shouts out to James Knox. He did say, I did hear Shanahan in the post-game press conference saying, listen, we had kind of prepared this. We knew we wanted to take the ball first because they won the toss, all tails flip, and they said they want the ball, and they said they wanted to, they wanted the ball first, and so they go down and score, and so, but they only scored 3 points, and so Shanahan said the analytics. He said he felt that the defense was playing good enough, and Kansas City defense was so tired. Both defenses played a heck of a game. They were just so tired from trying to run through these offenses. But like I said, Spagnuolo, man, he made plays. Christian Jones, who I think is one of the big-time defensive tackle out of Mississippi State, he's really good. Excuse me. And he affected Brock Purdy in clutch situations. And Steve Spagnuolo is called crazy blitzes that, they held San Francisco to 3 points in that overtime. So the Chiefs thought, from what I heard, Shanahan thought that 3 points that the Chiefs were going to have to, he thought their defense was going to be able to hold them to 3 points. And then if that happened, they would have had another possession to, win the game in overtime. So I get it. Like I said, shoulda, coulda, woulda. It is what it is, And I mentioned the Chiefs didn't know about the rules. I think Nicole Hardman on that game-winning touchdown, he was glad to catch it. And I think Pat Mahomes had to tell him, you won it. We won the game. So interesting perspective about the new overtime rules and having the Super Bowl going into the new overtime rules. I thought it played out. Give me your thoughts. Who do you think has the better overtime rules? You think it's college, the college level, or the NFL? Now, before y'all answer that, I think the old overtime rules were, I'm just getting choked up. I think the old overtime rules prior to this, where in the NFL, whoever scores first, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown or whatever, wins the game. I thought those rules were outdated, but I do like the new overtime rules because it does give teams both times opportunity to score. And so the collegiate rules, I feel like the old rules, the college level had them, but I kind of like the new NFL rules where in college, you're starting on the 25. Starting on the 25. Both teams get it. You got to go for 2 after the third overtime. Now I think you can kind of make it a little bit more difficult. Maybe start on the 45 or the 50. You know what I'm saying? Make it a little bit different. I feel like the 35 or the 25 is a little bit easy, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting to see. So let's get into Super Station. Let's see who has the better overtime. Let's see. I think college should add the 2-minute warning. Oh, that could be an interesting take. Shouts out to B Jamming. Lushan says, I definitely think it needs to be more difficult. Yeah, I think you look at ours, like I said, before the NFL changed the rules, I thought the collegiate overtime rules were a lot better. But now looking at the NFL, they made it a little bit more difficult and both teams get possession. But you just don't start from the 25, which I think is a little bit easy. I think maybe put that bad boy at the 45-yard line. Let's make that thing super difficult in the collegiate level. I think that could go a long way. I still say keep the 2-minute 2-point conversion, not 2-minute, 2-point conversion after the third overtime. I think that could spice it up a little bit. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Justin, we got a lot of love for college in the student section. College Jeff Stapleton. Shouts out to Lushan, my guy. He's a great guy. Stephen Hicks says, roll tide, Lushan, mad respect. Stephen Hicks says, yeah, college OT is the best. B. Jammin says college right now is good. I think so too. It's just so much more dramatic. And I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about this last night watching the Super Bowl, and I was like, the first half, it was kind of a dud almost. It was kind of like, it was just kind of like bland. It was just like McCaffrey fumble, Pacheco fumble. There was a lot of field goals. Now it was a defensive, chess match or whatnot, but it just didn't have that wow factor like the college game gives you. So it doesn't have all the pageantry and all that stuff. So I was thinking about this last night, and I was like, I still think the college game is just so much more better than the NFL game, in my opinion. Maybe I'm biased some, but I just don't want college football to lose that, that passion, that pageantry because of all the NIL and transfer portal nonsense that there is. I still think we need to keep college football. But I still think I saw better games from the collegiate level. Now, granted, the Chiefs-Ravens games was good. All the divisional championship playoffs, AFC, NFC were really good. But I was looking at the Super Bowl. I was like, the Rose Bowl, even though Bama lost, there was just so many emotions up and down, back and forth. I'm just like, you can't beat the college game. So that's just my 2 cents. Stephen Hicks says, oh, shouts out, plug up to Lushan's show. Looking forward to yours and Van's show, the Ivory Fox show. Yeah, that show is going to be a legendary show. So shouts out to Lushan, the work him and Van Edwards doing. Van Edwards are going to do a lot of different things. They're going to bring a lot of different type of perspectives, whether it's game plan, game film breakdown. It's going to have this unique spin. So the Ivory Files is going to be great. Shouts out to Lushan. Lushan's got his following in the student section. Shouts out to Lushan. Tavares Cheatham says, what's up, Matt? What's up, Tavares? So, whoa, I don't know what happened. Don't know what happened, guys. Sorry about that. So, yeah. Let's go to so we mentioned, I want to talk about NFL draft real quick. I want to shout out love all the Bama standardites. I love that. I want to shout out Bama in the NFL. So the NFL, we're done. We ended the NFL season last night. The Chiefs won. Chiefs Kingdom, they're on it. Mahomes won his 3rd rings. Andy Reid, shouts out to the Chiefs. Now is off season. 2024 season is up, but now it's NFL draft. We had the Senior Bowl. We had the East-West Shrine Bowl. Now we're going to have the NFL Combine, I believe. It's going to be it's going to be in a couple of weeks. Well, yeah, I think, what is it? Maybe in March. Or in the February, maybe the combine usually starts. So you're gonna hear a lot of draft boards and things like that. But I want to talk about Bama players in the NFL draft and potential potential when regarding the NFL draft. This is what we do here at Football University. We love talking anything and everything football. But we know the Chicago Bears got the number 1 pick. The Washington Commanders got the number 2. A lot of drama ensued, especially with the hiring of Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury was supposed to be going to not the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. And then that kind of fell through. And then he went to the Washington Commanders, where Dan Quinn is now the head coach, who's a former Cowboys defensive coordinator. And a lot of people are saying, what does that do for Caleb Williams, who's probably going to be the highest drafted prospect in this QB prospect in this draft? And I see a lot of people are saying Drake May, Bo Nix. Me personally, I like Caleb Williams and I like Jane Daniels. Those are kind of like my top two. You know, I even like Michael Penix. I think he did a lot. I think he did a lot. You know, what he did. I think he's going to be a good value pick maybe later in the draft, but it's going to be interesting to see teams through like 12 through, 14 and 15. But I do want to discuss the NFL draft now. Right now, this is what I'm seeing on draft board. They got the Chicago Bears with that number 1 pick. Now, do you think they have Justin Fields? Do you think they trade that pick maybe to like a Pittsburgh Steelers or maybe the New England Patriots or whoever? Some of these quarterback needy team, it's going to be interesting to see. So this is just one mock draft that I see. They got Chicago taking Caleb Williams, Drake May going to number 2. I won't be surprised if Jaden Daniels kind of goes right there. Now, Drake May is good, but that'll be your second time drafting another North Carolina quarterback, because you got Sam Hartman, who was from Howell was from North Carolina as well. So I think Jay Daniels, in my opinion, is my 2 quarterback. But anyway, they got, the Patriots got the number 3 pick. But as it relates to Alabama, a lot of people saying Dallas Turner probably going to be one of the first edge rushers off the board. They got a lot of, with the first 7 or 8 picks, a lot of teams are saying they're going offensive line or wide receivers. You're going to see a run on the top 3 wide receivers in the top 10 with, I think, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Romeo Oduzier. So I do think those guys go in the top 10. So I do think Alabama gets 2, maybe 3 top 10 picks. Now, I did see Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 overall players. His number 1 cornerback off the board, or just number 1 corner, is number 6 on the top 50, and that's Terrion Arnold. So Terrion Arnold could easily come out in the top 10. Maybe the Atlanta Falcons at number 8. Teams like that. Maybe the Chargers at number 5, but I do think the Chargers go a receiver, giving Justin Herbert some help on the outside. So but right now they got at number 8 Dallas Turner going to the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons fans, I want to know what your thoughts are regarding that. And they have J.C. Latham going number 10 to the Jets. I think the Jets are locked in on helping Aaron Rodgers get some offensive line help. So it's going to be interesting to see. So I think Bama has at least 3 go in the top, maybe 15. Right now they got 2 in the top 10. And that leads us to 11 through 12. You got the Raiders at 13. Now, in this specifically mock draft, they got Terrion Arnold going number 11 to the Minnesota Vikings. Right now, that puts 4 Alabama players, I believe. No, 3 Alabama players in the top 11 picks. And they have Kool-Aid going number 17 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So right now that's 4 out of the top 17 picks. Not too bad. And they got another one. They got Chris Braswell actually sneaking in at number 29 to the Detroit Lions. Now I could see that, but then I don't know. I feel like Detroit has I don't know. Detroit, they're tricky. Brett Holmes, the GM, Dan Campbell. Now they love to have good defensive edge rushers. They like guys that can do multiple things. They got Aiden Hutchinson on one end. So their front four is not that difficult. I mean, they got Brian Branch. I wouldn't be surprised if you see maybe like a Kool-Aid McKinstry if he's still on the board, maybe at 20 or something like that. Knowing the way Detroit Brad Holmes is, I wouldn't be surprised you see a team like Detroit Lions trade up to go get a Kool-Aid McKinstry if he's, still on the board. Also think if Kool-Aid's still on the board in the 20s, Green Bay Packers could use a Kool-Aid in my opinion. So, but Chris Braswell to 29, I wouldn't be mad at that. So I want to get your thoughts regarding the Bama players. Ooh, y'all are rocking and rolling. Lucian says, yeah, the show regarding Ivory Files is going to be a little bit more serious and highly detailed. Yeah, it's going to be a great show, guys. Get ready to turn in. Lucian says, I see the Bears trading back. I definitely see that. I think they keep, Justin Fields, at least give him one more year and then get Marvin Harrison Jr., somebody to go with that offensive, maybe trade back, get maybe 2 top 10 picks. That would be huge. So, B. Jamin says, where would Brock Bowers go? Now, I think Brock Bowers in this mock draft, they have Brock Bowers going number 14 to the New Orleans Saints. Now, I don't know if he gets that far. I don't see him falling out of 14. I mean, I look at teams like, but it's just going to go how the draft flows. If it's a lot of quarterbacks going off and receivers and offensive linemen, then I can see him falling. I don't know if he falls to 14, but I look at Minnesota Vikings, Henderson. No, not Henderson. Yeah, he got hurt for them at tight end. Maybe Denver, I'm hearing their rumblings. They might want Russell Wilson to come back. So 14, that looks like a pretty decent spot for Brock Bowers, but it's going to be interesting to see. So that I think he'll go top 15 in my opinion. Jeff Saban, he's still salty about his still salty about his 49ers. I think the 49ers would get it right back. I just think they need to get more of a nothing against Brock Purdy. I think he's great for what the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan like to do, but is that going to get you to beat Mahomes and all these great quarterbacks coming out the AFC? I still think they maybe need to look at that. Arnold Turner, Kool-Aid, Latham in the top 4. Yeah, top 4 first round for sure. I agree, Lucian. Let's see. You got 100 by shins plus the month punt. He never recovered from that shock. Yeah, I think guys, Alabama players that need to have a big combine. I think Terrion Arnold's going to put on a clinic. I think Latham's going to do his thing. And I think Braswell's going to do his things. But Kool-Aid, if he goes out there and really show a little bit more fluidity in his hips, movement. He's got balls. He's got to show he's got really great ball skills because his tape is going to get him drafted. Just look who he lined up against. He usually lined up against the best receiver on opposing teams. Like he shut down Brian Thomas. He shut down now Malik Neighbors. He's just super talented, but like he took care of his own versus Ole Miss and Tennessee, Texas and Tennessee and all these guys. His tape is just is unmatched. So it's going to be interesting to see. Now, Jermaine Burton, and we'll round it out. I think Jermaine Burton might be a good day 2 guy. I could definitely see him like in a really cool scheme, maybe like with the Colts or with the Packers, maybe. I feel like Packers got enough young offensive receivers, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jermaine Burton, maybe the Chiefs, that could be a good move for him. I think the Chiefs are going to load up on weapons for Mahomes this year, and they won't be having all these drops this year. So it's going to be interesting to see. So great comments. Good tight ends make great key players in the pros. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of the tight ends don't stop there. With Brock Bowers, there's a lot of good talented tight ends coming out this year. So LaShawn will end on his comment. He says, "Yeah, they're going to draft Braswell." So I think he's regarding the Detroit Lions. Interesting to see. I was that way with Peyton Manning, but they end up liking watch him come pro. And we're going to wrap the show up, guys. So. Shouts out to the student section. Lushawn has got his show coming on the Bama Standard Ivory Files. Shouts out to my brother Lushawn. B Jammin, Jeff Stapleton, Stephen Hicks. Let's see, Stephen Hicks, Rutherford, Chapman, James Knox, Jeff Stapleton. All you guys, ladies, gentlemen, y'all did an amazing job in the student section. We're glad to be back. Tune back in next week. We're going to get more into this NFL draft, Bama, and just talk about DeBoer's hires. But thanks for tuning in back again with me. I will see y'all again next week. Same channel, same time here on the CTS Sports Room. Y'all have a good one. Enjoy football talk this weekend. Be safe.